having come from a household of auto workers in Michigan,
That's right.
Correct. You're probably familiar with private sector unions. I know I am. I was in one for 10 years. And union dynamics. Obviously, I'm assuming you're familiar. Does this help you at all, do you think, moving forward as a member of a board in a situation where you're going to be engaging with unions, not all the time, but often enough that it is part of your job, and you've had negotiating experience? How is this all relevant to your...
Sure. So I think you're right. I think my background does give me an ability to talk to whether it's the teachers union or the support staff unions, because, as you said, my father, 5 of my uncles, my mother, 3 aunts, all retired GM auto workers, all members of the UAW, United Auto Workers, and so I understand how union dynamics work. I also understand that not everyone in a union necessarily agrees with the party line of the union and so on, and so I think that unions are a complex thing, and quite frankly, I think what that part gives me a nice basis, because I understand how a union works and how it's seen from the worker's standpoint. I think that that's a good perspective to have. But I think my experience working on the AWACS program, where we were negotiating big contracts with Boeing, during my time there I was the chief of production, and so I let, I think, 2 or 3 contracts, each worth a couple $100 million each. And so those are pretty big negotiating events. And so we have a contracting officer and the lead. So I was the lead, and the contracting officer is the lead negotiator. He's the one who has a warrant that's allowed to obligate the government to work. And I learned a lot of things along the way, some of which are unintended consequences in negotiation. We had, in our case, we had parts that we needed to have delivered, and it was very important they be there on time, because we were going to take an aircraft out of service to install them. And so we really wanted to reduce the risk that they could be late, or that whatever Boeing could do to make sure that they were there if we wanted them there. And so we started out the negotiation by saying we're going to put a big pile of money on each one of these deliveries to give you incentive, extra incentive beyond what it's going to cost you to make sure that they're there on time. If you come in 30 days early, you're going to get all this extra money. And as it turned out, that was the worst thing we could have done, because what ended up happening was the contractor was required by their management to go after that incentive money. And so they made a very conservative schedule, and they really negotiated us hard on those dates. We actually didn't get the dates that we asked for. Now, fast forward ahead to the end of the contract, we got the parts in the time that we wanted to, but we paid dearly for it. And the contractor used, that was the unintended consequence of putting those piles of money there. And so what I think I learned in that instance, and the next contract that I negotiated, which I think went a little bit better, as far as getting what we want while getting the contractors something fair for their efforts, and giving them opportunities where the incentive money that they earned was when they went above and beyond, not just when they did the job that we asked. And so that was a real eye-opener for me. And so to make sure that you're incentivizing the right things, you get the right outcomes, and that it's a win-win for both of you. You really have to be able to put yourself in the contractor's seat, see how they're seeing things. In this case, it was the contractor. But the other side seat, see what the landscape looks like from there before you can design some kind of solution that's a win-win. Because that's really what you want. You want both parties in the negotiation to come away feeling like they got a deal they can live with and they're happy with. Because if you really stick it to them, you're going to have a disgruntled workforce, or if the school board lays down, you're going to have taxpayers that are upset and everything. And so you just don't want that. You want, at the end of the day, both parties be satisfied with the deal and think that it's fair.
Okay. You've highlighted technology. We've talked about a couple of different opportunities. Do you see any other savings opportunities in the school district from where you are right now?
Technology-wise, I don't know about savings, but I guess technology is important in this sense, where the school district doesn't have a Facebook page, for instance. It doesn't have email push system. They have a grading system called PowerSchool, which has some messaging capability. But that's only in the middle and the high school. And so getting information to parents is still, for my elementary school, it's shoved in a piece of paper in the bottom of their knapsack kind of thing. And so I think that the town has it right in that sense. They have an email push notification system where I can go on there and say, I'm interested in the town manager's report and the Chelsea properties report and all meeting notices. And those things are pushed to my email box, and it looks like from the other side you've just got the town officials that email to an address, and that gets forwarded out to this big list. And so it doesn't have to share your email address with everyone. But at the same time, I get information pushed to me, so it prompts me to say, hey, there's town council meeting coming up. Hey, there's the Chelsea property thing is a public hearing coming up on that, or whatever. And I think the school district could do a similar kind of thing. You could have school board meeting notices, as well as the standard announcement kind of things that you get for senior night, parent-teacher conferences, you name it. And I think that would be a good use of technology. It would essentially be costless.
And on the other side, it saves the taxpayers, the people who are interested, in a manner of speaking. It makes them more efficient, because now they're not wasting time going, oh, there's a meeting tonight I didn't know about, and who to be mad at, or including themselves.
Sure.
And so, there is that other side where people want the information, and the people who want it can go and ask for it.
That's right. And I think that there's another, I think Nashua has just recently hammered out, after 18 months, a Facebook policy for their teachers and students, that teachers and students can interact through Facebook. And they have, I think they call it the TAP test. It has to be, timely, accurate, and professional, or something like that. So appropriate maybe is what the A is. But the bottom line is, it took them 18 months to come up with that. And I think Facebook's here to stay. And I think the idea that we need to engage in a policy that makes it an effective tool for us, just like it has for the police department, who's finding kids within an hour from when they walked away from their house through a couple of Facebook posts. And so I think that's the area where I see we could use technology very low cost, and really increases the effectiveness of spreading information both to taxpayers and parents.
You've been out. You had a coffee with candidate today at Swan Chocolate.
I did.
Yes. You've been doing things like this, getting out, talking to other people, having interviews done. What would you say is the best question that you've been asked during the campaign so far, and what was your answer?
Sure. So the question that kind of took me by surprise very early on in the campaign, and I've actually had it twice more since then. So I'm going to bring it up, which was, I make no secret that I'm a Christian. I believe in God, and so on. And so 3 times I've been asked, am I in favor of teaching creationism in the school? And the first time I was asked, I thought, wow, kind of an oddball question. I'm an engineer, I'm a scientist, I'm no stranger to being taught evolution, and while I am a Christian, it's never shook my faith in any meaningful way. So I wondered where that question came from. I did some research myself, and I learned a little bit about the history of Merrimack, and how there was a time when this district made national news because of some of that kind of thinking. And I can say that my answer was, no, I don't favor teaching creationism within the school, primarily because I think that in order to teach creationism, you really need to have a Christian worldview, and that's not evident in our school for a very good reason, nor should it be. And so I don't think that you could teach creationism in the school as anything more than an anecdote about what some people believe, given the worldview of the classroom. And so in my mind, I thought that was the most interesting question.
All right, the town election is Tuesday, April 10th.
That's right.
That is correct. Okay. How can people learn more about you as candidate, connect with you, or contact you between now and then?
Yeah, so probably the best way is on my website. So it's ggkrupp.net. My initials, ggkrupp.net. And there's several different pages in there for people to go through about what my qualifications are, some of the things that are in my background, a little bit of information about my family and kids. I have 4 sons, 3 of which are in Merrimack schools. And there's a contact page there. People can contact me at my telephone number, which is listed in the book. They can contact me by email, which is ggkrupp@yahoo.com. And so I'm very happy to talk to people. Matter of fact, through this campaign process, has probably been the most enjoyable part. I don't really enjoy campaigning per se, but getting to talk with people about education and what's important to them, it's been very interesting. And quite frankly, although a lot of people ask about the budget, some of the things I'm most passionate about, I've only gotten to talk with a few teachers I've spoken with, which are things like rigor in math education and science education and good history. And so I think that I'd be an advocate on the board for good rigor in the programs, sitting on the curriculum committees and so on.
Here's an extra question, because you just mentioned math. Everyday math.
Yep.
What do you think? Is it going? Or is it?
Everyday math is something I'm not a fan of. I've been a public critic of for, I guess, since I've been in the district. Dr. McLaughlin, who's the assistant superintendent for curriculum, and I have met on a couple of occasions, once for 3 hours in his office, actually, on this topic alone. And so here's my wife and I, both electrical engineers. Both of us have minors in math, and our second grader, at the time, our first grader, was bringing home worksheets that, we're spending considerable time just trying to figure out what exactly they're after. And so during the entire time he was in first grade, we spent a lot of time doing research on the Everyday Math program, where it comes from, why it's being used, why it's sweeping the nation kind of worldwide. And I guess here's the biggest problem that I have with the Everyday Math program. It's touted as a research-based math teaching model, and the problem is that research base is not from a mathematics. It's University of Chicago's elementary ed department. And so University of Chicago's elementary ed department went out and just let students decide how they wanted to learn, experience math. That's really the concept, is that you teach every student how they learn. Sounds all right, I guess, but here's the problem I have with that, and that math is not the same way as language. We're wired for language. We're wired to communicate. So plop you in a country where you don't know any of the vernacular, you don't understand the language, and you're there long enough, through observation and experience, you're going to pick something up. We're wired to communicate. Whether it's gestures or whatever, you're going to pick something up. Math is not that way. Math is like driving a car. It's rules and algorithms, and you need to know the rules and algorithms before you get out there on the road. You don't turn your 16-year-old loose and say you'll figure it out. And the same kind of thing happens in math. When you turn them loose on algebra problems in the first and second grade, you have students that are confused, and the concept is that you'll continue to expose them to that up through the sixth grade when everything magically clicks together. And I think that I would have a counterpoint to that people have a tendency to not like math because it's difficult, and if you're continually confused, I think you're going to have people who would have taken on careers in math maybe that are going to be turned off by math. And so I'm a critic of it. I don't hide that whatsoever. I would see it as a teaching method that may have some merit, because there are some of these different things resonate with different people. You have acronyms or whatever that help you remember certain things, and so maybe these everyday math teaching methods wouldn't be all bad. But at the same time, I don't believe that experience-based education at the elementary level is the way to go for math. And so I would definitely be an advocate for looking at alternatives. I like that the school district has introduced flashcards, which is something relatively new, because of everyday math's documented weakness in math facts. And so those kind of things I would be pushing for rigor or outright removal of the everyday math program.
All right, Gary, we're out of time. You need to go, because it's almost 20 after.
Okay.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, and good luck.
Great. Thank you.
Krupp